Hey, Monique here, Victoria Monique, on some magic and conscious creation and transformation. And I want to start off by saying that transformation actually automatically happens when we stop leaking energy to things that we don't appreciate, don't want to create anymore, states that we stop investing in, identities that we take our investment out. So, when you start off on this journey, especially in the beginning, you feel, or I can speak for myself, but this is what I've seen across the board, is that you really have to do a lot of things. And you're looking for techniques and you try this and you try that and then you have success and you think it's because of this and then you go hard into that and then it doesn't work anymore and then you go hard into that. And in the end, you find out that it's actually not about effort at all. It's about not investing your attention and your energy in certain things anymore. And when you do that, you retract the energy from it, and automatically your identity shifts. Automatically your state transforms. So that's what I wanted to start with. And I want to tell you something pretty cool that happened a couple of weeks ago, and it had a little tail a couple of days ago. So I'm in New Zealand, and there's a band called LAB that I discovered when I was still living in Berlin about 5 years ago, maybe longer. It was in the COVID time. I had no ideas that these guys were from New Zealand. And at the time, I was consciously focusing on creating travel to New Zealand or Australia, preferably New Zealand. And you might remember that in that time there was a lot of panic happening around the world, and I was already pretty deep in the conscious creation type teachings, and I wasn't listening too much to the fear mongers that said, well, that might never happen, and we don't know when the borders will open again, and you can forget about that, and blah de blah. And I was just like, whatever. So I kept doing my work, my inner work, as in with inner work I mean just keeping myself stable and relaxed and at peace as good as I could, and I was pretty good at it. And so LAB, I'm not sure if I said it already. I didn't know at the time, I think, that they were from New Zealand. I just really enjoyed their music, and I was training outside a lot, calisthenics park, with a lot of like minds that were also not afraid of COVID and possible infection and whatnot. So it was a beautiful time, and I really liked their music. So fast forward to my second trip to New Zealand. So it's now 2025, the end of 2025, and the first time I was in New Zealand for a longer time was 2022 and 3, I believe. So at one point I was somewhere called Mount Maunganui a couple of weeks ago, and I that morning I had decided to drive to a place called Papamoa. Papamoa is close to Mount Maunganui, and I heard a song of LAB on over the speakers in the cafe where I was, and I remembered that I wanted to know if the girl behind the counter knew where the singer Joel Shadbolt of LAB, if she knew where he used to play, because I'd seen an interview with him on YouTube where he was speaking about how his father passed away and how he, I think it was really music what him connected to, that connected him to his father, and that he used to play in this cafe. That's what I remembered, and I thought, if I will ever go to Papamoa in New Zealand, I want to check out where that actually was. So I actually never really thought about it anymore until that day when I heard that song. So I went to the counter and I said to the girl, I said, hey, um, do you know Joel Shadbolt from LAB? Do you know where he used to play music here in Papamoa? And she said, well, actually, I don't know. I'm not from here. I'm from the Mount. And I used to see Joel daily when I used to work in a cafe over there. And I thought, oh, that's funny. And I didn't think about it anymore. I went on with my day. I went back to the Mount. And the interesting thing was, everywhere that I walked past, I was in the gym, I heard LAB. I walked past the cafe, heard LAB again. And there was so much LAB happening around me that I thought, I wouldn't be surprised if I walk into one of the band members today of LAB, because it is just a little bit too coincidental that I hear LAB the whole day and that it stands out so much. Now, what was also interesting, and it ties in with what I began with, when we start to stop investing energy in things, when we stop leaking energy in things, transformation happens. So Bashar says manifestation is not conjuring up something out of nothing. Manifestation is the process of making the invisible visible, which means everything is already here and now, but the lens through which I'm looking cannot perceive the thing or the experience or the person or the money or whatever, because I am not looking through the right lens. And lenses have to do with our frequency, our vibration. I cannot see what I'm not the vibratory equal of. That's law, that's physics. So keep that in mind when I tell you that I had so many synchronicities that week that at one point in this particular day, I kind of freaked out and I thought, what's going on? It feels a bit discombobulating in my system. It started to feel a bit anxious, panicky, like it wasn't comfortable in my system because it was synchronicity after synchronicity. It was just like a lot. And my first reaction to another big synchronicity was, I need to understand this. What's going on? So I went to ChatGPT, and as I was going to ChatGPT and I was writing, I thought, stop. Don't do this. Feel into this feeling of magic and awe of all the synchronicities that are happening, and just allow it to land into my body. Stop everything that you're doing. And when I realized that, I closed my eyes and I just started to breathe and allow all of this awe and amazingness, I allowed it to settle in my system. So I continued my day. I was hearing LAB everywhere, and I thought, as I said, I wouldn't be surprised if I run into one of the band members today. And at one point, I was a bit restless. It was towards the end of the day. I was by myself, and I thought, I want to retreat, but it feels too early. And I thought, okay, come on, you're not going to retreat now. You're going to have a walk before you're going to start the evening. So I did. I walked down the mount because I was staying on the mount. It's such a beautiful place. If you don't know it, check it out, Mount Maunganui. Online. Maybe you're in New Zealand, then go check it out for real. And so I walked down to the ocean side and I was walking, and at one point thought, I thought, what am I doing here? So I walked back, and you can guess what happened next. I walked into Joel Shadbolt, the singer of LAB. And the funny thing is, so I walked, he came towards me, I looked at him, I looked away, and I looked back, and I said, hey, I had the feeling I was going to walk into you today. So he had to laugh because he doesn't know me. Well, in the meantime, he does. And I know him from the music and from the nana. And I said, yeah, this is really funny, but I talked about you today and I heard the music everywhere. And I said to myself, I wouldn't be surprised if I will walk into you today. So he had to laugh. He asked my name. He introduced himself. And we made a selfie. I'll put the selfie maybe somewhere in the video. I announced it a couple of weeks ago that I would make this video, and I hadn't to date, but now you have it. So, what is the most beautiful thing of this story? Like, why is this interesting for you? What I had done the moment that I realized, I'm actually pushing the magic away by trying to understand it, and all that is necessary is internalize it, not leak it by trying to understand, because understanding is with the head. But magic lives in the body, in the frequency. It doesn't live in the head and trying to understand. It doesn't live there. It lives in the body. It lives in the frequency. It lives in the vibration. So what I had done at that moment was expand my capacity for magical experiences. Because what happens when we don't leak, we contain, and we expand. That's what happens. And what was super cool was that I wasn't frothing. I wasn't like I was just really cool, calm, and collected. And as if he was a good friend, I said, hey, I had the feeling I was going to run into you today. So we had a little chat. It was really fun. Super, super nice guy. And guess what? So this was in Mount Maunganui, which is about 3.5 hours drive from Auckland if the traffic's normal. And so I am currently in Auckland. When was it? Monday. So today's Saturday. So Monday, the beginning of the week, I last minute changed a date with a friend to a different location. And at one point I got restless. I was like, okay, shall we walk? Because I feel like I've been sitting long enough. And we had a little walk. Guess what? Who I run into? Joel Shadbolt again. Oh, it was so interesting. I saw him sitting and I was like, hey. And he looked, hey. So he got up, gave me a hug. Because, yeah. Anyway, it's the moral of this story. There's a logic to magical experiences, and Bashar also says that magic is more normal than it is special. Magic is actually how, and synchronicities is how life organizes itself when we allow life to flow naturally. And so, when you can stay with yourself, when you have all of these magical things happening that you are aware of, because obviously you need to be aware, but you guys are aware, otherwise you would not even be listening to this, or you're beginning to become more aware. That's also possible, but you're definitely a level of aware. And so when you start to become more aware, you have more synchronicities happening, it can be overwhelming. It's not about understanding, it's about integrating, appreciating, sure, integrating. Feel calm and settled into this whole feeling. And when you do that and you're not leaking your energy, then you expand your capacity for that. Just like you can expand your capacity to hold wealth, like literal money, you can expand your capacity to hold romance and have an even more amazing romantic experience than you've ever had. Friendships, family life, work, it's all what is the nervous system, what is your system, your physical vessel able to hold. That's what it boils down to. That's it. Yeah, enough talking. I trust and I also intend that this was an amazingly helpful video for you. If you'd like to ask me any questions, my email is in the description. If you would like to learn more about the basics of conscious creation, I have a new little one-on-one package that I do, a number of sessions that I do with people, or there's a longer program that you can join if you feel like that speaks to you, and the details are also in the description. Yeah, I trust and hope that you enjoyed this little magical experience from my life, and I will see you in the next. Mwah.